Alright, what is up, everybody? I wanted to come to you guys tonight with my Impact Wrestling review. So let's talk about what happened tonight on Impact Wrestling to start off the show. We had the Knockout Women's Tag Team Tournament with Tasha Steelz versus a brand new tag team tonight in the name of the Sea Stars. The Sea Stars made their debut tonight on Impact Wrestling. This is a new debuting tag team on Impact Wrestling by the name of the Sea Stars. They were pretty much brand new. These were just new. They were newbies. This was a new women's tag team that debuted tonight on Impact Wrestling by the name of the Sea Stars. They made their Impact Wrestling debut tonight. So tonight we got the debut of the Sea Stars on Impact Wrestling. This was a women's tag team, and their name was the Sea Stars, and they went up against the team of Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz. This was a Knockout Women's Tag Team Tournament match tonight to start off the show for Impact Wrestling. This was pretty much a no-brainer of who would win this match to start off the show tonight for Impact Wrestling with this up-and-coming new women's tag team by the name of the Sea Stars tonight on Impact Wrestling versus the team of Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz. This was a pretty much a no-brainer. I didn't really expect the Sea Stars to beat Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan. I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't expect the Sea Stars to win their debut match. I didn't expect that to happen. I knew Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan would end up beating the new debuting tag team by the name of the Sea Stars tonight on Impact Wrestling to start off the show in this Knockout Women's Tag Team Tournament to start off the show. So it was pretty much a domination by Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz over the brand new debuting team by the name of the Sea Stars tonight on Impact Wrestling. Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan dominated the Sea Stars in their debut match tonight on Impact Wrestling in the Knockout Women's Tag Team Tournament match tonight on Impact Wrestling. This was just a no-brainer. I knew Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan wasn't going to lose this match. We all knew this wasn't going to happen. We all knew Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan were going to advance in the Knockout Women's Tag Team Tournament tonight over the Sea Stars in their Impact Wrestling debut. So that's pretty much what happened. Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz dominated the debuting team of the Sea Stars tonight on Impact Wrestling in their debut match tonight on Impact Wrestling in the Knockout Women's Tag Team Tournament. And then we had Crazy Steve, aka we had Crazy Steve dressed up as Suicide against Rohit in the beat the Rohit challenge. This was a Beat the Rohit challenge tonight on Impact Wrestling. So we had Crazy Steve dressed up as aka Suicide, whoever was the old Suicide on TNA. Now we have Crazy Steve portraying Suicide. So this was pretty much, I didn't really care for it all that much. Crazy Steve was dressed up as Suicide. So Impact Wrestling pretty much let you know tonight who was behind the character of Suicide, and it was Crazy Steve. Crazy Steve was dressed up as Suicide tonight on Impact Wrestling. So there you go, Impact Wrestling spoiled it for you guys. If you guys were rooting for Suicide, now you guys know who Suicide really is. Suicide is really Crazy Steve. So there you go. I just don't care. I'm not a fan of Crazy Steve. I'm not a fan of Rohit. I don't care about these two guys. Crazy Steve, aka Suicide, beat Rohit by a roll up tonight on Impact Wrestling, which no one really cares about. The only reason they did this was for shock and awe. They wanted a crowd reaction, and they don't have no crowd they have no crowd. Impact Wrestling has no fans. So doing this unmasking of Suicide, and it turns out to be Crazy Steve that was Suicide the whole time. This is going to do absolutely nothing for them because Impact Wrestling has no fans. So, putting Crazy Steve in the suicide suit, and putting a mask on Crazy Steve and portraying him as Suicide and unmasking him tonight during the match with Rohit, it's going to do nothing for you guys because you guys do not have fans. No one's going to care about this because there were no fans there to see it. If you guys had fans, you guys would have had a pop or maybe a great reaction. But since you didn't have no fans, you guys are going to get buried for it because there were no fans there to react to the unsuspecting. Who is Suicide? Who is this guy dressed up as Suicide? Why are they betraying? Who are they betraying to be Suicide? They would have been. You could have kept the fans guessing. You could have let the fans guess on who's Suicide, who's betraying Suicide, who's this guy acting like Suicide. You could have kept the fans guessing on who is Suicide, who is he, who's the guy that's betraying Suicide, who is Suicide. But tonight, Impact Wrestling they did this for a knee-jerk reaction, and they're not going to get a reaction because they don't have no fans. I don't know. I don't understand why you would put Crazy Steve in a suicide bodysuit and have him wear a mask, and then you take the mask off and it comes out to be Crazy Steve. Why are you betraying Crazy Steve out to be Suicide when fans could have came back in 2021, when you could have had fans and you could have got a pop and a reaction to it, when you could have got the crowd to pop to it, and you could have kept the crowd guessing into who's Suicide, who is the guy betraying Suicide, who is the guy that is in the Suicide suit. You could have kept the fans guessing, but you didn't do that, and now you spoiled it for everybody else. You pretty much spoiled it for everybody else tonight on Impact Wrestling by betraying Crazy Steve as Suicide when you don't have fans there to react to the unmasking of Crazy Steve, who is aka Suicide. You don't have the fans there to pop to it or react to it. So why you did this tonight, I don't understand it. I don't get it. And I don't really care about it. Because you don't have fans there to react to it. So you pretty much ruined the mystique of Suicide by putting Crazy Steve in the Suicide suit. You ruined the mystique of Suicide. Suicide was supposed to be, mysterious. Nobody was supposed to know who he is, and now you've ruined the mystique of Suicide by unmasking him and by putting Crazy Steve in the Suicide suit and putting a mask on him. I don't know why you would do that, but it is what it is, I guess. And Crazy Steve, aka Suicide, beats Rohit by a roll-up tonight on Impact Wrestling. And then we had AJ Swoggle, AJ Swoggle, aka Hornswoggle, versus Ethan Page. I don't care. This match didn't last long. Hornswoggle beat Ethan Page by a roll-up. So there you go. And then we had Kimberly versus Killer Kelly. This match didn't last all that long, about a minute and a half. This match didn't go that long. This match wasn't this match between Killer Kelly and Kimberly. It wasn't that great. It was all right. It was just decent. Kimberly ends up burying Killer Kelly. Killer Kelly, I heard, is one hell of an athlete. I heard she's athletic. I heard she's a freak athlete. This was her first match tonight on Impact Wrestling. Tonight was the debut of Killer Kelly, and you bury her by letting a jobber bury her in Kimberly when Kimberly hasn't beat nobody. She hasn't beaten nobody, and you have Kimberly beat your upcoming new superstar in Killer Kelly. This was her debut tonight, and you have Kimberly bury Killer Kelly tonight on Impact Wrestling in her debut, which I don't understand that. Tonight was the debut of Killer Kelly, and Killer Kelly gets buried by a jobber in Kimberly by a roll-up. So there you go. And then we had the main event of Impact Wrestling, which was Rich Swann versus Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock is just there to be there. They're not doing anything. Impact Wrestling is not doing anything with Ken Shamrock. They're not doing anything with him. They're just putting him in title situations just to put him in title championship. They're putting Ken Shamrock in title situations just to have him there when you don't need him there. I mean, I guess they wanted Shamrock to work with Swan, I guess, to put Swan over. I mean, I guess that's the only reason Impact Wrestling put Shamrock in this match with Rich Swann was to put Swan over in a way. I don't really understand that. I don't know why Ken Shamrock is putting over Swan when Ken Shamrock just got inducted into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame just a few days ago, and you're putting him against Swan, which is the Impact World Champion, and you have Ken Shamrock put over Swan. I guess in a way, I guess that's what Shamrock was there for, was to put Swan over. So I guess that's why you did it. I guess that's why you put Shamrock in this match, was to put Rich Swann over, I guess, in a way, to make Swan look strong. I guess that's why you did it. I don't know if that's the reason why you did it, but that's my guess. But Ken Shamrock and Rich Swann, it was a decent match in the main event of Impact Wrestling for the Impact World Championship. This was a decent main event to be a one-on-one match. It was alright for what it was. I wasn't blown away by it by no means. I just don't really care. I didn't really think anything of it. I mean, this match didn't blow me away by no means. Rich Swann was defending the Impact World Championship against Ken Shamrock tonight in the main event of Impact Wrestling, which did not blow me away. I didn't really care for this match. I didn't think much about this match anyway. Ken Shamrock is just there to put Swan over because Swan is the younger talent, so I guess that's why Shamrock was in the main event, just to put Swan over, I guess. I guess that's what it is. So, overall, Impact Wrestling gets a 0 out of 10 from me. They ruined Killer Kelly. They ruined the mystique of Suicide tonight on Impact Wrestling. You ruined Suicide for me. I could have went on forever of not knowing who Suicide really is. You could have kept that a secret from me for a lot longer. I didn't really need to know who Suicide is, who is the guy betraying Suicide, who is the guy that's in the Suicide suit. You didn't really have to. I mean, you kind of spoiled it for me. You killed the mystique of Suicide. Suicide is now, his mystique is ruined because you unmasked him, and it's Crazy Steve, and Crazy Steve is just an absolute jobber. You ruined the mystique of suicide by putting Crazy Steve in the suicide suit, and Crazy Steve is nothing but a loser and a jobber. So you ruined the mystique of suicide. And you ruined Killer Kelly by having Killer Kelly get beat by a jobber. I don't understand why you bring him. I don't understand why you have Killer Kelly lose her first debut match on Impact Wrestling tonight by a complete and total jobber in Kimberly. When Kimberly is a jobber, she has beat nobody, but you have her beat Killer Kelly, which I've heard is one hell of an athlete. So you have a jobber beat the upcoming new star, and Killer Kelly is now buried as well. So Impact Wrestling for me gets a 0 out of 10. If you guys like this Impact Wrestling review, hit that thumbs up. It helps my YouTube channel in the YouTube algorithm. If you guys like this Impact Wrestling review, hit that thumbs up. It helps my YouTube channel in the YouTube algorithm. Guys, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And hit that notification bell and become part of the notification gang here on the channel. Make sure you become part of the notification gang here on my channel. And thank you guys for watching this Impact Wrestling review tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Impact Wrestling overall gets a 0 out of 10 for me. This show didn't do anything for me. You buried the mystique of suicide. You killed the mystique of suicide, and you buried Killer Kelly, which I don't care for. So Impact Wrestling overall for me gets a 0 out of 10. Impact Wrestling did nothing for me tonight. This show felt uncreative as hell. This show they're just, I don't know what they're doing, man. I really don't understand what they're doing, so there you go. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoy this Impact Wrestling review. I will see you guys back here tomorrow night for the AEW and NXT review. And until then, I love you guys, man. Your boy's out. Deuce. Peace.